your name on it. Just put your name on it. That's all I say. Be a man or a woman. Put your name on it.
Well, I'd like to hear about it, potheads.
How the fuck you gonna know how to be great if you don't study greatness? Look at the game tape.
Donuts.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you're not a bad-looking man, Mr. Galson.
But you are, Blanche. You are in that chair.
There's something wrong with us. Something very, very wrong with us.
Oh, hey, buddy. Oh, yeah.
All right, put your name on it. A very special episode of Mohr Stories. You Warriors, you morons, you Mormons, you Maureen's. Love you guys. Love that you're hitting me up on Twitter with all these nicknames and your fake mustache pictures. Go to jmohr.com. Check out the affiliates. Go to fakemustache.com. That's got all... Look, I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's like owning a record label. It's like I'm Suge Knight and I'm trying to get you guys to listen to the new Dre record by Ryan Sickler. Go to fakemustache.com and you can see all the podcasts under one roof. Now listen, I have an athlete today. And here's the thing. A lot of people overseas, when we do athletic talk, you guys kind of glaze out. You go, well, I don't know about American baseball. I don't know about American football. We all know fighting. And if you're not, for the ladies out there, just comic book people that aren't into fighting and boxing, I'm going to ask you to hang in there and take a ride with me because this is more of a discussion about the human spirit and about overcoming insurmountable odds. Because one of my favorite quotes about boxers is boxers are ordinary people with extraordinary determination. And the guy sitting to my left, who's the guest, Ray Mancini, you kind of did it all right. And I noticed the first thing that pops out at me, we're going to get to the things that pop out at everybody else listening. First, I want to say hi. I'm hogging the mic.
That was so beautiful, man. That was a beautiful thing. I can't even talk.
Oh, wait, today's Ray Mancini? I had the wrong bio. I'm sorry. I thought you were Zab Judah. Let me start over.
Super, man. I'm super. Super Judah. Super, man.
Zoop, jada, zada, super duper. The thing that jumps out about you to me, and it's almost inconscionable, is that you retired at 24.
Yeah.
Man, I wish I could retire, or I had retired.
Oh, I totally forgot to tell everybody.
Yeah.
Uncle Dan's, Mr. 100% is on third
To your
mic.
right, to your right.
To my right is Uncle Dan. We just got to teach him to put the microphone closer to his mouth.
All right, here I am, right here. I'll tape it there.
I'm fascinated by fighters because what you guys do is harder than any team sport. And you being, first of all, and I'm just going to call it like it is, being a white fighter is very rare.
Yeah.
You know that from fighting in gyms.
And being white.
Being white is...
I mean, let's face it.
He's the comic relief.
I can see that.
Yeah.
What age did you start this journey of fighting? And we're going to go all the way chronologically and then with philosophical ideals. And then I also want people to go to jmohr.com, click the Amazon banner, and buy Ray's book by Mark Kriegel. Pre-order that book called, what is it called?
The Good Son.
I just don't want to get it wrong because that's the running gag on the show is I get everything wrong. So The Good Son, Mark Kriegel wrote a book about Ray Mancini. Do you want to start at the beginning, how you got into fighting, or do you want to tell us why to the person, you know what? Let's go backwards for a sec. The person listening that's not a fight fan, what is it about you that Mark Kriegel was inspired to dedicate 2 years of his life and write a book about you? Because to the casual fight fan, they know Boom Boom, you know, they know the nickname, they know a little bit, but, you know.
No, I understand. When Mark approached me about writing the book, he basically said, I owe Simon Schuster one more. He said, I would love to do it on you. And I told him, I said, Mark, I'm honored, man. I'm flattered. If anybody be the writer, he's the writer. Because if anybody knows anything about Mark Kriegel, he's like the it guy. He's everyone said this is the it guy now. You know, he's a throwback to the old time great writers like Damon Runyon, and he has a certain style that when he writes that's terrific. But when he approached me, I said, 30 years I've been approached different times. And, look, you got to be an arrogant son of a gun to think that your life's worth a book.
Jesus, I wrote 2 of them.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ray.
I said, but
speaking about arrogance,
I said arrogant, and I precipitated it by saying that.
And he's trying to write a third
you
one
said
too.
Runyon and precipitated in 1 minute. You're supposed to be a fighter. You're no dummy.
No, man, I'm an educated pugilist, huh?
What did Mark say to you? Like, what was his pitch?
And that's so he said to me, and I said, Mark, I'm honored. If anybody be it, you'd be the guy. I said, but I got to be honest, and no false modesty. I don't know what you can write that hasn't been written already or told through newspapers. That's already been out there. I don't know what would be the hook. He said, no, I got the hook. It's not a boxing story. It's not a fight story. It's a fathers and sons story. I said, now I buy that. He said, it's a story of you and your father. He said, you and your children. He's seen my boys with me all the time. And he said, I told him the story of my father. My grandfather came in from Sicily. He said, your story, your father and his father. He said, inevitably, me and my father. He said, because he said, I became a writer because my father always wanted to be a writer, but he, got stuck and he worked in a garment industry for all those years. And so I became a writer for him. I said, great. Okay. That's the hook. And then he gave me that. He said, look, he said, I've already spent the advance. He said, I can't give you no money. He says, but, if it makes any money, if down the road, if it makes anything, we'll split 50-50. I said,
what
okay,
a
great.
jerk. I got an advance to write a book about you. Look, I can't give you any of the money.
I said, I spent it, which I believe him, because, at the time he was out of work for a while, and he was, now he was doing great, God bless. He just signed a big major contract with NFL Network, doing radio for NFL Network. But at the time,
Kriegel, you better give Ray his money.
he said, but look, he says, we ever make any money down, we'll split it 50-50. I said, great. We shook hands. That's our deal. And that's been it. And so, at that point, and that was about 3 years ago, a little more than 3 years ago. And he said, look, so he's, he did his diligence. He came to Youngstown. He got things that I never knew.
Ray Mancini, to the listeners, from Youngstown, Ohio.
Born and raised Youngstown, Ohio. I'm sorry.
No, that's right. So, I'm just filling in the
I appreciate it. But if you know Mark, he's an investigative reporter. He handled a lot of,
But I don't give a shit about Mark as much as I give a shit about what was his. The hook was fathers and
fathers
sons.
and sons. That's really the hook. That was the hook. That was the hook. That sold
and that's
me.
what touched your heart.
Yeah, of course. Because
so your grandfather came over from Sicily.
Right.
Was he a fighter?
No.
Okay.
My father.
Was your father a fighter?
Yes. My father became a fighter. My grandmother was the fighter of the family. My grandparents, my grandmother, my father, they were.
She fought Ezra Charles, a very famous
fight. My grandmother
fight.
banged out a lot of, growing up, man, she used to take no gruff from anybody on the street.
TKO.
Uncle Dan said she TKO'd him.
She might have been. My grandmother can throw, man. She can throw him, but my grandparents split. My father was 10. And my grandfather at that time left for Buffalo. My grandfather, when he came in this, he was a man of honor. So when you come from Sicily, he was doing
he was a friend of ours?
Yeah. He was doing rackets, and he was doing work with the Cleveland crew.
Gotcha.
And so he was getting jammed up a lot, and he was going away. He would go away for periods of time, 8 months here, 6 months there. And one about around that time, there was a guy that was good friends with one of my great uncles, my father's uncles, that come around, and him and my grandmother, hooked up, and my grandfather come out of jail, found out. He said, look, he told my father, I got to go. I got to leave. You stay with you. My father wanted to go with him. No, I want to go with you. And he said, no, you got to stay take care of your mother. He left. My father said he cried so much that day and that night, he could never cry again. And I can tell you, I didn't see my father cry until I was like, I never saw my father cry until I was like 17, 16 years old. And so all those years, he's just one of them guys who just held everything in. So, cut to my grandfather, when my father was 10 years old, his Uncle Paulo, but they called him Firpo. The reason why, because he looked facially like Luis Firpo, who was the heavyweight fighter who fought Jack Dempsey from Argentina, Luis Firpo. So everyone called him Firpo as his nickname. My uncle was like 6'3", 260, 270, had hands like, they said his hands were so big, he used to hold gallon jugs of wine upside down and could palm it,
Uncle Dan holds jugs of wine.
Yeah.
But he just empties them into his mouth.
Both hands.
Box of wine he can hold with his hands.
I can't do a basketball, but I can do a gallon of wine. I'll tell you that.
Galliano, box of Galliano wine. He pours it right into his face.
You bet.
My uncle Paul used to take my father out in the streets and bet. He said, my nephew can kick your son's ass.
Oh my God.
And he'd say,
Streets of Buffalo?
No, Youngstown, Ohio.
This is back
my grandfather left for Buffalo,
he had
but
to go.
he's still in
He got
Youngstown.
caught up. All right.
So my father, what? And my uncle, just to show everybody how tough he was, he said, watch this, crack him across the face, bing, with the big hands, and leave,
And how old was your father at this
10
time?
years old, 10, 11 years old. And he'd say, well, look, he don't even cry. So they used to like bet, they have fights. And then my father was 10 years old, and they were betting on guys in the street. Yeah.
And I'm guessing your father would win a lot.
And he would win all the fight. My father was...
These days they call that child abuse.
Or they could... or human cockfighting.
Human cockfighting. No, child abuse. I don't think judges say that when they take your 10-year-old away from you. You, sir, have engaged in human cockfighting with a minor. No, they just say, you're abusing your child. And you're running a racket. You're running a gambling ring based on your son's whiskers.
Back then, yeah. Depression.
Your father had a set of whiskers on him.
Yeah, well, my father could... my father had 93... my father's final record was 55, 12, and 3. Was it 70-something fights? 70.
He fought pro all this time.
Fought pros, yeah. But he had 20 fights before he went to New York. And they didn't start keeping records of your fights until he went to New York. But he had 20 fights around Youngstown, Akron, Cleveland area.
Youngstown's a tough town.
He turned pro in 37. He moved to New York in 39.
They don't keep good records there, I'll tell you that.
No, they don't.
It's
Ask
tough.
Kelly Pavlik. They got one record on
Crummy accountants, good fighters. That's what they say about Youngstown.
Yeah, that's the book on Youngstown right there.
But here's the thing. My father, all his amateur fights, all his pro fights, was never knocked out or stopped as an amateur or pro. Never knocked out. So when you say he had a good beard, man, you ain't lying.
So why'd he stop?
Well, my father retired in 1948 because, 47, because basically, after the war, he became a shelf. He wanted the number one lightweight contender in the world when he went into the service.
For those listening,
yeah.
What weight is lightweight?
135 pounds.
Okay.
My father was number one contender in the world for almost 2 years. Signed to fight for the world title in February of 1942. Got drafted in January of 1942.
Oh,
he said, I want to fight for my country, defend my country. He says, but just give me an opportunity to train and fight for the title, and then I'll go into the Army. He said, in fact, I'll give all my money to the Army Relief Fund, which was crying for money at that time. And they said, we don't want your money, we want you. And they did everything they could, and they wanted to give him the 6-week reprieve to train. Consequently, he went in, and my father was so disgusted that he volunteered to be a frontline infantryman. If anybody knows about World War II, the service.
50% mortality rate.
A frontline infantryman is the enemy and you. Ain't nothing in between. So he was in battle.
When did he decide?
Yeah.
Or did you decide together that you wanted to fight like your father?
You have to say, since
How old were you when you started?
Since I was a baby, since day one. Everyone says,
come on.
No, people say to me, when did you know you want to be a fighter? I said, since day one. Says, all I used to hear about was my father.
The doctor slapped you, you slapped him back. You fainted, you ducked,
That's
and
it.
you countered. You said,
Hit him with a
"Don't come at
left.
it." Huh?
Hit him with a left.
Yeah, the doctor came at you with a lead right, didn't respect your speed.
But,
an insult.
I was sort of my father should have been, could have been, would have been world champion if he'd got a chance to fight for the title. So since I was 5, 6, whatever, they said, what do you want to be? They call me Little Boom. Hey, Little Boom, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I want to be a fighter and world champion for my father. And when we'd laugh, ain't that cute, But true.
Your father was Boom Boom also?
He was the original. My father was given that nickname in 1939 by promoter Max Joss, the Broadway Arena on Broadway and Halsey in Brooklyn, said to a sports writer, look at this guy. He does nothing but keep coming, throwing punches, boom, 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 all the time. Next day, Lenny Boom Boom Mancini. And the first one to get that nickname. There's been other...
How old were you when you realized that not only do I like fighting, but I'm pretty sure...
I knew I wanted to do it. But the thing is, in Youngstown, you had to be 16 to fight in the Golden Gloves. You had to be 16. So I was waiting for the Golden Gloves. So at 15, I started training. But I was playing all my other sports in high school.
But were you training like at 12?
Since I was grown up, my father used to I had an old army duffel bag full of rags, and he used it as a heavy bag. And I used to hit the bag, since I was 6, 7 years old, go downstairs and bang that bag, and he'd say, look at it. And I was a southpaw. I'm a southpaw, but everything I do is left-handed. Only thing except boxing, because they converted me after my 6th amateur fight, my amateur trainer, and bat when I played baseball.
Why did they convert you? So you get more fights?
Exactly. At that time, my amateur trainer said, look, he said, you punch hard, you're strong, you're aggressive. I'm not going to be able to nobody wants to fight a southpaw. I'm not going to be able to get you no fights. I was 15 years old. He said, I'm going to have to convert you, get more use out of your left hand. Plus, that left hook will come from the blind side, which wound up being my best punch.
So you go to the amateurs at 16 years old.
Right.
Your father's...
15. I fought 15 because I fought at that time. I found there was Junior Olympics, so I didn't know, never heard of that. And I fought. You had to fight from up to 15. So I fought in my Junior Olympics at 15. I won to Cleveland. First fight I had knocked a guy out in like 30-something seconds. Next guy I knocked out in like 20-something seconds because I was jumping, running across the ring, banging guys, being
Was it
aggressive.
something you truly love? Did you
Yeah.
love knocking guys out?
I loved fighting. That's nothing else I wanted to be.
Didn't come from a place of anger.
No, that's the thing. Most boxers come from hunger, source of hunger. Economically, mainly economic.
And you
30
grew up
years,
middle class.
neighborhood, loving family. I just
You're
wanted.
the anomaly in fighting. You're a white middle class guy that didn't have a horrible.
Yeah,
hardship
I
as a
just
child.
that's all I ever wanted to do because I wanted to be a world champion for my
You
father.
understand what I'm saying? That you are the anomaly. You're the outlier. You're the guy that is not. It's not normal to be. .com. Check out the affiliates. Go to fakemustache.com. That's got all. Look, I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's like owning a record label. It's like I'm Suge Knight and I'm trying to get you guys to listen to the new Dre record by Ryan Sickler. Go to fakemustache.com and you can see all the podcasts under one roof. Now listen, I have an athlete.
Put your name on it. Just put your name on it. That's all I say. Be a man or a woman. Put your name on it.
Well, I'd like to hear about it, potheads.
How the fuck you gonna know how to be great if you don't study greatness? Look at the game tape.
Donuts.
Oh yeah.
Hey, you're not a bad-looking man, Mr. Gals.
But you are, Blanche. You are in that chair.
Today. And here's the thing. A lot of people overseas, when we do athletic talk, you guys kind of glaze out. You go, well, I don't know about American baseball. I don't know about American football. We all know fighting. And if you're not, for the ladies out there, just comic book people that aren't into fighting and boxing. All right, put your name on it. A very special episode of Mohr Stories. You Warriors, you morons, you Mormons, you Maureen's. Love you guys. Love that you're hitting me up on Twitter with all these nicknames and your fake mustache pictures. Go to jmohr.
There's something wrong with us. Something very, very wrong with us.
Oh, hey, buddy. Oh, yeah.